Software or hardware synth? Which one is right for you? Today, we're going to look at two options from one of my favorite players in the virtual and hardware instruments industry, Arturia. The MiniFreak, a spontaneous algorithmic hardware synth with borderline soft synth flexibility that features 6 voice polyphony, 2 synth engines and 2 LFOs, analog and digital filters, built-in effects, an onboard creative arpeggiator and sequencer, and a 37 keys velocity-sensitive keyboard. And Pigments 4, Arturia's flagship software synth, a powerhouse that brings together Arturia's 20+ years of modeling heritage and their latest technologies and advancements in DSP research, as well as MPE compatibility. Both the MiniFreak and Pigments 4 have a virtually infinite sonic palette, with the MiniFreak leaning slightly more toward the live and experimental side of things, and Pigments 4 emerging as a workhorse capable of creating sounds suited to EDM, cinematic music, hip-hop, lo-fi, and more. Before we look into the synths, let it be known that Arturia also recently released a new portable audio MIDI interface, the Minifuse 4, which I'm using to record the MiniFreak's audio for this video, as well as a new compact MIDI keyboard and pad controller, the Minilab 3, which I'm using to control Pigments 4. Now let's turn our attention to our first synth of the day, the MiniFreak. If you have used a MicroFreak before, the design and layout of the MiniFreak and its buttons and knobs will feel very familiar and make you feel right at home. But the MiniFreak also expands MicroFreak's concept and capabilities with 2 synth engines with 22 modes each, a dual LFO, an expanded mod matrix with 7 sources and 13 potential destinations, digital effects including a 3-point EQ, reverb, delay, chorus, bit crusher and more, external audio processing, a custom LFO shaper, and an expanded onboard sequencer arpeggiator with spice and dice, Arturia's chord and scale mode, and a lot more. The MiniFreak also brings back the MicroFreak's analog filter as well as the envelope, the cycling envelope, and the LCD screen for preset selection, synth parameter controls, and utility setup. All in all, the MiniFreak is a beast and a lot of fun to lose yourself into. Let's start with the oscillators. The MiniFreak features 2 digital oscillator engines with 22 oscillator modes and includes the open source code created by Mutable Instruments and algorithms designed by LA modular titans Noise Engineering. A noise generator that lets you morph between particle noise, white noise, and a metallic kind of noise, super waves, Harmo, Car plus string, which uses physical modeling to recreate the vibration and resonance of a physical string. Basic waves, audio in for external audio processing, multi-filter, surgeon filter, comb filter, phase filter, destroy, a distortion and bit crusher engine, and FM/RM. The MiniFreak also features a bunch of open source oscillators adapted from Eurorack Legend mutable instruments. V-Analog, Wave Shaper, 2-up FM, a simple but powerful twin operator FM oscillator. Formant, speech, an engine that creates vowel formants in simple words.
Frequency, knob, modular, operator,
and modal. Finally, for final frontier sound explorers, MiniFreak features free noise engineering algorithms that combine wave folding, phase modulation, and harmonic manipulation. SAW-X, harm, and bass. You can assign any of the modes to each of the synth engine and then blend the two oscillators easily using the volume button, making creating new sound instinctive and a lot of fun. The modulation matrix in the upper left of the instrument is where a lot of the magic of the MiniFreak happens, and all the possible modulations give the MiniFreak borderline soft synth flexibility. The mod matrix might look a bit intimidating at first, but it is actually very simple to use. Let me show you with a simple example. Here is my sound as it is now. Now let's say I want LFO1 to modulate the cutoff frequency of the filter. All I need to do is select LFO1 and cutoff in the mod matrix and press the matrix knob to confirm the choice. Then dialing the amount of modulation I want with that same knob. Now we can clearly hear LFO1 modulating the cutoff frequency of the analog filter. There are 7 possible modulation sources: the cycling and traditional envelopes, LFO1 and 2, velocity, aftertouch, the mod wheel, and the keyboard, and 13 possible destinations, and you can modulate any parameter by linking it to one of the 9 possible assigned spots of the mod matrix. The MiniFreak's mod matrix is an incredibly powerful tool, and the potential for sonic exploration is virtually endless. Moving on. On top of all the digital filters available in the oscillator section, the MiniFreak features the same analog filter as the MicroFreak, with 3 modes: low pass, band pass, and high pass. And you can dial in some envelope using the envelope knob. Below is a traditional envelope with mono, polyphonic, paraphonic and unison modes that can also be used as a modulation source. A cycling envelope that can be used as a traditional envelope or as an LFO. The MiniFreak has two LFOs that can be used conventionally to modulate virtually all synth parameters. But you can also create and easily modify custom LFO shapes of up to 16 steps with the step sequencer. This custom LFO mode is a super powerful tool and great to kickstart inspiration and create unexpected sound shapes. One of the biggest add-ons to the MiniFreak compared to its predecessor is the addition of free onboard stereo FX engines. You can use them to further sculpt and polish any combination of engines you might have chosen. Available are chorus, phaser and flanger, reverb and delay, distortion and bit crusher, a free band and a peak EQ, and multi-comp. Effects and level can be adjusted at the twist of a knob or modulated by any of the 7 sources available in the mod matrix or assigned to the micro wheels. The Arpeggiator sequencer of the MiniFreak goes beyond what you can expect from traditional arpeggiators and sequencers. For instance, you'll find the usual up, down and random mode, but also a mutate mode that adds random notes for surprise and variation, and a poly mode that turns an arpeggio into chord stabs. And the ratchet and repeat controls are great for live performance. Spice and Dice, a favorite of Arturia users, also lives on the MiniFreak and randomly alters pitches in a sequence, the gate amount, and other parameters, often leading to happy accidents and unexpected inspiration. Last but not least, Arturia reinvents the mod wheel by breathing second and third life into it. The pitch bend and modulation control can be used traditionally. But can also be used as macro controls to modulate virtually any parameters of a sound, such as, for example, LFO rate or the wet-dry reverb mix. And that's not all. The two sliders can also be used to control the sequencer and arpeggiator's gate and dice amount. So that pretty much covers it for a very brief overview of the MiniFreak. Actually not quite. The MiniFreak has one last superpower, but to find out what it is, you'll have to wait for the conclusion of this video. Nonetheless, I hope this presentation left you wanting to explore further with this super powerful little synth. It sure did for me, and as someone that used a MicroFreak, I'm super impressed and happy with the upgrades implemented by Arturia with this new member in the Freak family. Let's now turn our focus to Pigments 4 and the software side of things. Pigment is Arturia's flagship, state-of-the-art and colorful software synth, and this new version brings a ton of new features and enhancements to an already very powerful instrument. Pigments 4 features multiple sound engines, drag-and-drop modulation, professional utilities, and studio-grade effects, and has a virtually infinite sound palette. Pigments 4 is also a great option for MPE controllers enthusiasts and micro-tuning adepts, featuring MPE and MTS ESP compatibility. On top of that, it comes with a huge library of 1400 presets to get you started quickly and jumpstart your inspiration. I think it's clear that the sonic range of Pigments 4 is incredible. From EDM, hip-hop and dubstep sounds to cinematic pads and everything in between, if you can think it, Pigments can generate it. And the user interface makes exploring new sonic frontiers and create new sounds very easy and intuitive. The play page, which is the default view of Pigments, is a great place to start. It shows you the main components of the synths, the sound engines, the filters, the effect sands, color-coded graphic visualizations of the active modulations, pitch bend, mod wheel and amplitude envelope controls, and macro controls. The play page is a great view for live performances, but it's really in the synth page that the nitty-gritty stuff of Pigments happens. Pigments 4 features two parallel sound engines, each offering 4 modes: a triple oscillator virtual analog engine, a complex wavetable engine with hundreds of options to choose from, a sample and granular engine with once again hundreds of samples to choose from, and finally, a harmonic additive engine. Pigments 4 also has a utility engine with 2 sample-based noise generators and a 5-shape virtual analog oscillator perfect to add a sub-oscillator, for instance. To the right of the sound engines, you'll find Pigments 2 filters which combine modern filters and classic filter types from V Collection instruments. check out how the famed MS-20 filter shapes and gives character to sound. You can easily switch filter types to see how they affect your sound and set your filter routing to continuous series or parallel routing. Pigments also has a streamlined and powerful unison system. For epic leads, just add some unison voices and detune them a bit and you are set. Below the sound engine and filter lives the center strip with the modulations overview, and under that all the modulators of Pigments organized by color. The keyboard controls in pink, free envelope generators in orange, free LFOs in yellow, free functions that can be used as extra envelope generators or LFOs in green, free random modules to create unexpected and chaotic modulations, 2 combinate modules, and 4 dynamic macro controls. Assigning a modulation source to a destination is as easy as drag and drop, and you can then use the pop-up to set the amount of modulation required. For instance, I want envelope 2 to modulate the cutoff frequency of filter 1. All I have to do is click and drag the envelope 2 tab from the center strip and drop it on the cutoff knob and set the modulation amount in the pop-up, and it's done. Now I want to use function 1 as an envelope to modulate LFO 1's rate. So I'm just going to set the shape and time of the modulation. Let's make it quite long and intense. Then click on LFO 1, drag function 1 to the rate control and set the modulation amount, and voila. I can also draw and design custom LFO shapes using the draw mode to create complete rhythmic patches. This is a good way to show you how easy it is to create sounds from scratch, and you can assign any of the available mod source to any synth control. So I'll let you imagine how diverse the sound palette can be. Random and combinate are more complex modulation sources and add some chaos to the sound design. The FX panel features a comprehensive selection of 18 studio-grade effects with 2 insert buses and 1 send bus, with 3 effects per bus, including the legendary June 6 chorus, the inspiring shimmer reverb, and the powerful super unison effects. Effects can be deactivated completely by toggling the general effects switch on and off, and the FX dry-wet control can be assigned to macros or modulators and control live or performances via a controller like the Minilab 3, for instance. The FX module really ties Pigments 4 together and makes it a one-stop shop for music creation. Last but not least, let's take a look at the sequencer Arpeggiator section. The sequencer is probably one of my favorite features of Pigments 4 and is easy to use while providing complex and surprising audio results. Using the grid, you can easily set the pitch, velocity, octave, trigger probability, gate length, and slide control for each of the 16 steps. But the fun really begins with the dice control. This randomizer tool can be applied on each track of the grid independently and can lead to really great results very fast. And even better, you can dial the dice amount back to return to your original sequence and easily reset any control if you don't like what you ended up with. And with this, we come to the end of this quick overview of Pigments 4. Once again, the possibilities are so vast that I can only begin to show how powerful Pigment 4 is in a short video. This software instrument is truly a sound designer's dream and could be the only synth you own, and you'd still be able to create every possible sound, from drums to screeching basses to pads to leads to experimental sound effects. So all in all, a great option too. So in the course of this video, we looked at two serious contenders in the realm of hardware and software synthesizers, with the MiniFreak and Pigments 4 by Arturia. As you may have realized by now, I'm very enthusiastic about both, so the purpose of this video is not to declare which is best in the great scheme of things, that would be pointless, but which is best for you as a musician and producer. It is undeniable that software synths have many advantages. They offer incredible sonic possibilities, with the only limitation being the processing power of the computer they're running on. They're full-fledged instruments in their own right and can emulate hardware synth, modern or classic, with an uncanny resemblance, and they often come at a much cheaper price tag than any hardware synth on the market. They're also portable, which is always a plus for gigging musicians and for writing and producing on the go. But hardware synths, there is nothing like hardware synths. First off, modern hardware synths like the MiniFreak really blur the line between hardware and soft synth in terms of palette and modulation. The MiniFreak is a great example of that with its dual synth engine and LFOs, its two envelope generators and the mod matrix that lets you create any sound you can think of. And despite all the power software synths have, there's something they'll never have, and that's a physical body and interface. Nothing rivals the feeling of the filter opening at the turn of a knob on a hardware synth, or the power and richness of an analog oscillator roaring at the touch of a switch. And hardware synths are a great and fun way to learn everything there is to know about synthesis. So really, for the full experience, I would recommend experimenting with both. But whichever you choose, Arturia instruments are a perfect place to start. Oh, and remember that extra superpower I said the MiniFreak has? Well, it comes with a VST counterpart, MiniFreak V. So you can have the best of both worlds, a software and a hardware synth in the same package. Something to consider while making your choice. Alright, this video is coming to an end. I hope you enjoyed it and now have a better understanding of what software and hardware synth have to offer, and I'd love to know your thoughts about it and what your favorite Arturia synth is. Let us know in the comments below. This was Gabe with B&H. Thanks for watching and keep it groovy.